Hi, welcome to my channel. First thing I've got to do is wish all my viewers and my subscribers a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. This year, 2019, has been a good year, but this is going to be my last video of the year, and it won't be at the plot. What I'm doing is just going through a video which is solving a problem that I had at the beginning of the year and how I resolved it. So, welcome to East Sussex and my allotment. The problem I had, and I expect other polytunnel owners have, is that at this time of year, due to the wind, the rain and a hard frost, is the zip on the entrance door. It becomes stuck and refuses to budge. When it's belting it down with rain and the wind is billowing into the poly and you can't get the zip to connect, never mind to lock, one has to resort to a method of closing the door that is expedient. At the start of the year we had experienced 4 gales or storms: Atia, Brendan, Clara and Dennis. These are Irish names, as Ireland was the first to be hit, so they had the honour of naming them. But we were now to receive a storm from the east, as it was called, the beast from the east, Storm Emma. Preparation was essential. The first task was to clear the sub-base at the entrance down to the weed barrier fabric. An accurate measurement was taken using my expandable rule from my surveying equipment. Don't let this worry you, as 2 laths can provide this dimension quite as easy. And I work on the principle, if you have it, use it. The dimension is transferred to a sole plate, and I chose 3x2. And duly cut it off square. And taken round to the entrance. It is positioned between the 2 corners and stitch nailed into the timber base plates that support the polytunnel's legs. The distance between the base plates is divided to establish the centre, and a dimension of 1/8 plus an 1/8 of an inch is marked. Short end of 2x2 is positioned at this mark and scribed around, establishing where the doorpost will be. Multiple saw cuts are made and the thin wooden slivers are then knocked out either by a hammer or screwdriver. Now this method is used when upon a roof and a half joint is required, and it is not a good idea to take a sharp chisel up there due to safety reasons. Speaking from personal experience, here is a scar from the 1960s when a colleague dropped a chisel from above and stabbed me in the arm. But the doorpost is measured and stitch nailed into position. This is as far as I had progressed prior to the arrival of Storm Emma, and I still had to find an arrangement to secure the door frame head to the poly framing. As an added precaution against Storm Emma, I jammed an old flush door blank between the polytunnel and the gate. The zip was frozen solid and I could only partially part it to gain access. Storm Emma brought snow and freezing conditions. My solution to secure the door frame head was to use a pair of sliding casement window pulls made in anodised cast aluminium. They worked well and they were a cheap and practical solution. During this intense cold period, I set up an electric fire in the shed and commenced making the door to fit the entrance.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Okay, I switched on an electric fire and started constructing the plot tunnel door. Nothing complicated, just simple half-lap joints. Simple frame, 2 stiles, a top rail, middle rail and a bottom rail. And keeping to the ancient golden rule, this increased in size from 100mm, 150mm and 200mm. What is essential when constructing joints for external use is accuracy. When completed, it must look as though it's grown there and no glue. The timber of the door will take on or release water content depending on the weather. Glue makes a rigid joint which builds up tension. Tension causes splitting. The joint is allowed to move at all. The parts swell together at the same rate, therefore no tension. All parts cut out and jointed, coat a paint in the joint itself and screw together. Screws create a rigidness to the joint, and to relieve this tension when drilling, wag the drill gently sidewards across the grain. Now I said gently across the grain, not circular or up or down, and then fix the screw. We now have a door which requires painting and the adding of hinges. It's to the door and frame as ventilation. Ventilation is an important factor during hot weather. A downside to polytunnels is the heat build-up in summer, which has a detrimental effect on what you are growing, therefore is an essential. A frame at the other end is a requirement, but that's going to be a project for the future. The finished door is then taken to the allotment and hung onto the right hand post. The first opening light being a small one at the top of the side frame. Cross members are measured and pocket screwed into position. The resultant opening is measured and timber cut. Timber knife available is rough sawn and treated. Not to worry, this will all go in the cleaning up operation. Joints I used are pocket screws, requiring little skill, and they do give a quick and strong joint. We now start the process of cleaning up the rough sawn timber, and for this a freshly sharpened smoothing plane is required, followed by a small detailed sander. A rebate router bait equipped with a ball bearing guide cuts a clean mortise, which if one operates on an internal rebate in a clockwork direction will take little handling skill. All that remains is to clean up the internal corners. We now finish sanding and applying 2 or 3 coats of paint and pop in some plastic glazing. The temporary polythene is carefully cut around the opening and the opening light positioned. This style of window frame became fashionable after the First World War, when, as a cost-cutting exercise, hinges have been applied and screwed on into position. Attention is now concentrated on the larger opening light below. A different type of window frame is considered of a bit more modern design, which we call in the trade an Edgmer window, an acronym of the European Joinery Manufacturers Association. I transferred the dimensions onto a sheet of plywood. Cut and glued inch square members and clamping them over the drawn out pattern, screwing them together with pocket screws. The glue had cured, taken from the clamps, and the screw pockets filled with an epoxy filler. When this filler had hardened, it was taken outside and sanded level and smooth. Glazing beads fitted to the inside of the frame, with the top edge protected with sellotape for when the glue is applied. 1.5" by 3/8 timbers are positioned, lining the inside face with the glazing beads. This forms rebates on the inside and outside faces. Again, when the glue is cured, the cramps are removed, taken to the poly tunnel and checked for fit. It was found to be okay, no adjustments required. Cut off, cleaned up with a smoothing plane and then sanded down. Beads removed, together with removing the sellotape. Rounded the edges with the router, partly for decoration, not a functional requirement, and then gave 2 or 3 coats of paint. Plastic glazing inserted, hinges were applied. Hinges are a type made specially for Edgmer windows, which are cranked to take the rebate in position, and the window was fitted, and where we are as of today. All that's left for me now is to ask you if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, ring the bell to get further updates, as this is the end of this video, the end of the week and the end of the year. So all that remains is Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. That's nice.